there is a lot on this fight. Now, before you get in the X's and O's, okay, just the story of the fight and a perceived storyline for the drama that will come out of this fight, let's start with Joanna. Now, Joanna is nobody's fool. She is nobody's stepping stone. She is a champion to the highest of levels with skills to the highest of levels that backs down from absolutely nobody. Let's say she loses to Weili. Let's say she does. Where does she go? Does she stay at 115? Does she go back up to 125? Either way, if she stays at 115 and isn't going to get a rematch for the championship against Weili, if she goes up to 125, what, she starts stepping stones there to try to get back to the Bullet, a fight that's already happened and people aren't clamoring to see? I'm just saying it's a very tough spot when you take somebody as good, as skilled, as respected, as feared as Joanna. But when you look at Joanna internally, all she wants to be is the champion. She doesn't give a damn about all the rest of it. So where does a gal go, like Joanna, who can't get a championship fight at 115 because she's already had so many, can't get a championship fight at 125 pounds because she's already had it? Where does she go? I don't have the answer to that. I'm just saying, come out of this fight, should she come in with the silver medal, it's going to be one of those very weird things. It's going to be one of those very weird things of what is her goal and what is going to keep her motivated, what weight class is she going to go, what's going to be her new plan. I don't have those answers, and thank goodness I'll never have to come up with them. She's got her own team, her own manager. She'll have to let us know, but I do think that it begs a question, and I think that the future becomes a little bit less certain. Now, let's look at Weili. If Weili is to get beat and Joanna runs off with this title, Joanna is likely to call out Rose. Joanna wants the Rose fight. Rose would like to fight Joanna and get her championship back. I think in many ways that would make some sense. That gives Weili something to do in the meantime, and then you rematch Weili with Joanna, should things in the meantime go Weili's way. But it is very interesting and compelling. You've also got the problem of what happens. I mean, the Bullet has made some comments about Weili. Weili doesn't have the world's easiest time making that weight class. Champ is a real thing right now. It would seem as though the organization would like to keep a title around Weili, first ever Chinese champion. Very real thing from a marketing standpoint. Very big deal when you're trying to break into Asia and other places, and she earned this fair and square. This was a marketing tip that fell in everybody's lap. There was no help. She's the rightful gal. So with that in mind, I don't think you do the champ thing and move her up against the Bullet. And by the way, that isn't going to swing the needle in some wonderful direction, but don't act as though Weili isn't a competitor who heard what the Bullet had to say about her. So things could get very fun in a very short period of time with the women's division. But now let's, aside from the story and the drama, let's take a look at the X's and O's. Because when you look at Weili, you're talking about a stand-up fighter. I'm sure you've all been very impressed with her fights. I have as well. I was more impressed by her training footage, which I saw after her last fight. I saw some training footage, and it was just pad work. But to watch how hard she could push, how hard she could go, the kind of power that she had, and her ability to come forward in addition to her speed, it was almost frightening. And anybody can look good on pads. I understand that. But I hadn't seen her on pads. I had only seen her in action, and she looked good in action. So now when you combine these two, you start to see that Weili is a little bit different. Look, if this was a straight-up kickboxing match with 16-ounce gloves, I think we would all just go bet on Joanna. Just on resumes alone, just on the experience alone. This is Joanna's world. This is Joanna's kind of fight. The difference with Weili and what Joanna may be used to in competitions, MMA to kickboxing, or even in sparring in the practice room. Very simple. It's power, and power is a great equalizer. In any kind of combat sport, if you've got that power, all of a sudden people have to respect it. They just have to. Before we get into the setups and the movement and everything, if you just have that power, all of a sudden, things are a little bit different. The other thing that Weili does is an incredible ability to come forward. She has an aggression. She will come forward like Amanda Nunes. She has the same Amanda Nunes level power at 115 pounds. And I'm not saying she's as powerful as Amanda. I'm saying it's that same power when you put it down at her weight class. Plus, she comes forward. I mean, aggression is a real thing. Aggression is another one of these intangibles that's hard to see on television. It's hard to teach in the practice room. Somebody either has it or they don't, and there's a lot that goes into it. Being aggressive is just saying, okay, I'm going to go out and be really busy, and then I get to be called aggressive. No, there's a conditioning that comes with it. Anybody could go fight like hell for 30 seconds. What are you going to do in 30 minutes? Starts to become the question. And Weili looks like one of these gals that can be aggressive, has that power, and is going to come after you aggressively. It's just different. There's a reason that you don't prepare for somebody like that. The reason is you don't prepare with people who do that. The reason you don't prepare with those kind of people, you can't trust them. What kind of teammate would that be? That's coming at you, throwing power, walking you down, throwing 100 punches in a minute. I mean, that's not a training partner. That's a fist fight on Saturday night in a steel cage. It's just different. So it's a little bit hard to prepare for. If you want to sit and have a conversation about who is the better striker, particularly after we all agree that this is most likely going to be a striking contest, if you want to talk about who is the better striker, I think you're probably almost unanimously going to come to the conclusion it's Joanna. If you then want to say who is the more powerful of the two, and it's not because Joanna isn't powerful, but the more powerful, if that's the question, you're likely to lean towards Weili. If you want to talk about who can go harder longer, that's a question mark on Weili in all fairness. She brings a storm, which is another comparison I will make to Amanda. And I realize that Amanda has had some long, drawn-out fights as of late, but for a while, there was a narrative around Amanda that her own coaches and teammates worried about, that she brings a storm, an absolute tornado, and generally there's no tree left standing. But if there is, and we see the third and the fourth and the fifth round, can she hold up? Now that she has, turns out the answer is yes, but it was still a question. And until you're in the 5-round club, it's only a guess. It's only speculation. People can do it in training. It's significantly different. I can tell you as an amateur wrestler, I would wrestle live with really good guys every single day for 1 hour. Shake hands, go, hour later, hit the showers, go home. The match itself was only 7 minutes in competition. You would be dead exhausted. You could do an hour, the exact same thing, but now you're struggling to do it 7 minutes. Well, the difference with the practice room and when the lights are on is stress. Stress creates a fatigue. Fatigue wears you down. It's why you can do a wrestling match for 7 minutes and be totally exhausted, feel like you just got hit by a bus. But you can go in the very next day, grab a equally as good partner and do it for an hour before you feel like you were hit by a bus. I'm just saying there's a very different thing here. So to guess that somebody can make it into the 5-round club before they've done it is nothing less than a guess. And when you look at Joanna, there's no doubt about it. She can fight all night and she can fight a little bit longer. It seems as though she's going to have to move her feet a lot. Turns out Joanna does move her feet a lot. And it seems like she's going to have to be able to deal with some power. Now, that's a unique one that you kind of figure out on the fly. Can I take your shots? Can I not? Depends where those shots go. Depends how you set it up. But if I can keep my hands up, I can move around a little bit and buy some minutes here. At least in theory, things are going to start to go my way. And when you're a championship fight, if you're planning on it going all night long, you just have to win 3 rounds. I think the fight is really interesting, and I do think that once you get past the first 2 and 3 minutes with Weili, things do start to swing. I just have to offer for you guys in full disclosure, I tell you that I think that based on a guess. I have no evidence. We haven't seen it. I do believe that this is Weili's biggest challenge. I do believe that this is a challenge that Joanna was made for. I'll just remind you of that. Joanna comes from the stand-up world. She has seen this before. She is used to this. It's like Brer Rabbit. I was born and raised in the Briar Patch. It reminds me of that. I think that Joanna is going to the Briar Patch, exactly where she wants to be.